Okay, everybody, I am so excited today because I am joined by Kristina Tonteri-Young, aka Beatrice in Warrior Nun. Season 2 is out now. I am so excited about this. We're going to be talking spoilers, so make sure you watch the whole season first, then come to this interview. Kristina, how you doing today?
Good, good. I just watched the season last night, so I also know what I'm talking about.
Oh, thank God. Good. That would have been tragic if you didn't. So
Yeah.
I'm happy you watched it. I just watched it myself too. I loved it. And there's so many fascinating things going on with the character of Beatrice this season. And I like that it starts in Switzerland. Now, what I thought was interesting though, is this was like a lot of important scenes with Ava, and we see that it's Beatrice's first time drunk. So I'm wondering, even though she gets frustrated with Ava, how she is this free spirit, is it also, you think, what Beatrice is most attracted to about her?
Oh, absolutely. I think Ava kind of embodies everything that Beatrice wants out of her own life. Ava has, and in Ava, she sees herself. So it's kind of like Ava's forced to do something that she doesn't necessarily want to do all the time. She has to do it for the good of the world, but she has the opportunity. She has this freedom inside her that I think Beatrice is kind of like stamped down on in her life. So Ava embodies everything that Beatrice wishes that she could be inside her.
Oh, I love that answer. Yeah, I totally see that. And I also thought was interesting about Beatrice's character was we see in the beginning of the season this jealousy she has brewing when Ava is talking with Michael. So were you surprised when you first read the script that Beatrice would be the one type to get jealous?
Yeah, but also I think it's very understandable. I think they're all in a situation where they're dealing with things that they don't quite understand. They're kind of hiding. Everything's very high pressure. And I think in those situations, the parts of ourselves that we don't really realize that would come out do come out. So I think it's understandable that she does show that a little bit more than you might think, or that even I might think in her everyday life. But in those situations where we're already under a lot of pressure, we're already trying to keep ourselves together, those things tend to kind of come out. And throughout the season, we see her acting in a little bit like uncharacteristic ways. So I think that's all kind of goes down that same vein of like being in a situation where we are like very uncomfortable and very out of our own comfort zone. So that makes us act in different ways.
Yeah, I like that answer. And totally through the season, we see her act maybe uncharacteristic ways, which makes it really interesting. And also just uncomfortable situations you're talking about, but this big turning point early on in the season where the sisters learn that Mary is dead. How do you think this affected Beatrice losing Mary? How did that change her as a person?
Well, it's one less person to be able to count on, you know? So it's like, again, you're in the situation and you had been holding out hope against hope that she might be okay, she might turn up, and this is one of your family and they're gone and you didn't even get to say goodbye. So I think that definitely puts her in a much more, again, uncomfortable position where like it's one less thing to be able to depend on, one less, pillar of strength to be able to count on.
Yeah, totally. And it's interesting to see how the whole group kind of moves on from that. And I also think it's interesting too, because ever since we've met Beatrice, even in season 1, she's always on guard, not trusting of people. Where do you think that, when you just even first read the character, did you feel that really roots from in her? Why is that such a big thing about her?
Well, I think it's as she grew up in a very religious family, and her education was all based in this kind of culture of, it's very narrow, the parameters of who you are allowed to be. I'm not saying that every religion is that is how it is for everyone, but for her, I think it was very narrow. She was allowed to be on this or this and anything in between, but nothing bigger than that little box. And I think she learned very early on that if she exhibited any kind of behavior that was outside of that box, you would get, slapped on the wrist or whatever it might have been in her family. And I think once you experience that kind of thing from your own family, you kind of start to think, well, if my own family can do it, won't everybody else as well? I think it does come from a place of fear. I think it is one of her weaknesses that she tries to mask with that kind of like detachedness. But Yeah, I think this season we start to see a little bit more of her starting to let go of her emotions, not always in a very controlled manner.
Yeah, I like that. I like you mentioned the mask too, and I feel like that starts to slowly come off. And what I love too about this season is how much great action there is and big set pieces, but also like episode 3, this museum heist, which was nuts, and then episode 4, this great church battle. So my question to you is, do you do your own stunts? And was there any stunts that you were most nervous about if you do your own stunts?
We all did a lot of our own stunts. The stunt team was so great at training us, and we really all put in the time. They definitely put in double the time to make us all up to par. Obviously, there are some things that you just, for safety, cannot do, and you would need more time to train. But I think we all, I mean, did very, very well with what we were given. So many gratefulnesses to the stunt team for that. But I think the church fight was the biggest like hurdle because it's a big one shot, right? So we shot it beginning to end every time we did it. And we only had a certain number of tries because you only have a certain number of breakable objects that you can break. So it's like, well, and I think somebody like broke one of the breakable benches by accident, and then we're like, great, that's like one less that we have. But I think that was the biggest challenge. And also I think when we got it done, it was the most satisfying. And when you watch it, I mean, like I watched it last night and I was like,
oh yeah, totally.
I think it's one of my favorite ones, definitely.
It's amazing, and that's really cool to hear too, that there was a lot on the line during it. I like that. And it's interesting. My favorite scene of the show as a whole now is in the finale with your character Beatrice, where she gets to take down all these men in this hallway with this like giant sword thing. Was this the most badass you ever felt in your career to this day? And is it scenes like that as an actress you kill to just get or be a part of?
Yeah, I mean, well, that specific fight is actually my stunt double.
Okay.
Joe, who is fantastic. But I mean, it's a recall back to episode 4 in season 1, right? So it's kind of just like reamped that scene, that hallway fight. But yeah, I think it's why else do we do this job except we get to be in extraordinary situations, pretending to be other people, and there's like it's of no cost to us. We get to do it for the pure joy of it.
Yeah, no, I love that. And I love that Beatrice got scenes like this because it's such a popular character in the show and in the fan base. So that was really satisfying. And I also think what's really satisfying is we know with this fan base, everyone was dying for Ava and Beatrice to finally kiss. It happens here. And I want to know, with you, did you know, like, were these two always going to end up romantically involved together in some way on the show for you? Or was there a specific time maybe you found that out? Was that always the plan?
I think for me, it was always the plan. From the very beginning, when I discussed that relationship with Simon and with the directors, it was always a plan that it was going to be a little bit of a slow burner, but they were meant to be together, or they were meant to be in love, if not together, as we see at the end of the second season. But I think it was always, the arc was always working towards that. I never had a doubt that they would end up at least showing their feelings towards each other.
Would you happen to know, did Alba feel the same way too, or is that something you guys didn't even talk about?
I can't speak exactly to her, but I think she also felt that way.
Interesting.
I would be easier to guess.
I like that. And it's interesting because you just kind of mentioned it too, how it's like this almost very like tragic in an ending in a way. And, you know, she lets Ava go. But the big thing was that Beatrice does not take the halo. So then in the post-credit scene, we see she also is not going to teach the new recruits, and it seems like she's moving on. So can you get me into her mindset there? Why she's not taking the halo? Why she's not teaching? Because I think a lot of people are going to really want to know why. Yeah,
I think, well, a big thing is that we still don't know exactly what would happen to Ava if the halo got taken out of her. We don't know exactly whether she's going to just end up paralyzed, whether she's going to end up exactly the way she was when the halo found her, which was deceased. So I think there's that. And also, I think she already knows that her life path is going to lead her in a different direction from the halo. I think she's accepted, as she had already in the beginning, I think she had accepted that she would maybe be the next in line, but she's not the one to take it. And I think through the 2 seasons, she comes to the conclusion that she doesn't want it. She doesn't want the responsibility, but it's not in a selfish way of like, I want to live my life, I don't want the responsibility. I think there's a lot of different things playing into her decision there of not taking the halo from Ava when it's offered. I think she's very scared at the moment. I think it's very much like well, this is your last kind of chance, and I don't want to take it from you just to save this object. I would rather have, 5 more seconds with you alive.
Sure.
And then I think, again, it goes back to the same thing. Her kind of leaving the church at the end. She's realized that her life lies elsewhere.
Interesting.
Like, she might still be involved, but I don't think she'll be involved as much in a religious capacity from henceforth. And I know nothing of future plans.
Oh, okay, because that's what it was kind of leading me to, because that's a great answer. And I'm wondering, Joe, but you as a viewer, Kristina, watching this episode, did you view this episode as something that could be seen as a satisfying series finale, or one that leaves a door open to a season 3? Is it both? Like, how are you kind of viewing it from your eyes?
I think it definitely leaves the door open for season 3. I mean, the sword starts glowing again. We need to find out where Beatrice is going. We need to find out what's on the other side. I mean, if Michael was over there for a few months and he aged 15 years, then it's a lot can happen. I think it would be really interesting to explore the other side a little bit more, and that kind of power structure that Rhea and Adriel and all of these other characters have over there.
Yeah, and I'm sure the fans were all really hoping for a season 3, and even if we don't have a season 3, I think it'd be really cool would you be down if there was on the table a Beatrice spinoff? Because I feel like there is a lot more to explore with that character. And like you're saying, she's conflicted about certain things. I feel like there's room for that as well. Do you see that at all?
I would honestly, I would love that. I don't know if it's possible, but I would love that. That would be, I think there's a lot to excavate there. Definitely.
Yeah.
This is both for Ava for season 3 and for Beatrice personally. This is kind of like an open door. She's left. I'm assuming, starting a life of her own, so that can lead in any direction.
Yeah, and you're right, and that's what's I think really brilliant about this finale is having those open doors, and just there's so much passion to this show and really this cult following, diehard fan base. So have you felt like amazed at the reaction it's getting, that it's getting this praise, and that there's people who are really like attached to it?
Yeah, I mean, I didn't know what to expect when season 1 came out. I'd never been on anything like this, but I mean, the amount of love and enthusiasm has been absolutely amazing. I mean, just to know that, like, more specifically, like when I get responses from people who are like, well, I relate to Beatrice and she's really given me courage to live my truth in my everyday life. I'm just like to be able to actually touch someone's life through a screen is pretty incredible. So I'm incredibly surprised, but also incredibly grateful.
No, that's awesome. And I love your humbleness about it. And it's really just awesome that it means a lot to you too, because it means a lot to us. So everyone watch Kristina just kill it in Warrior Nun season 2. It's on Netflix now. Spread the word, rewatch it. We're going to get this season 3. And if not, we're getting this freaking spinoff. It's happening. Thank you so much for joining me, Kristina. I hope to talk to you in the future.
Thank you so much for having me.